Hello, everyone, and welcome. We have decorated the set especially for you. I trust that everyone will survive the night, but no promises. My name is Bidisha. I'm a presenter and broadcaster, and it's my pleasure to welcome you on this day of celebration and commemoration. Agatha Christie liked a good death, and she would not mind us commemorating and celebrating hers with a little gathering. In fact, as we know from her body of work, the most dramatic things happen at a little gathering. If you're into all things crime, as we heard, here at the British Library and opening on the 30th of October, we are marking 50 years since her death with a long and major exhibition celebrating her work, her life, her ideas, her travels and scandals and interests, iconic characters and personal objects, many of which have never been displayed before, including her typewriter and her writing notes. Today, we celebrate a glorious new multi-part Netflix adaptation of Christie's short story, 7 Dials, produced by Orchid Pictures. 7 Dials brings us into the interwar period, almost exactly 100 years ago, an ancient and very, very different time when military conflicts, a pandemic, widespread mistrust of the authorities, and a scandalous questioning around norms of gender, class, and social mobility ruled the headlines. Almost impossible to imagine now, but we can try to get into it. There are copies of 7 Dials available if you haven't got yours already. In fact, we got our famouses beavering away in the back room, signing them quickly. Grab yours if you haven't yet. And we second that welcome to the people who are tuning in online first. Let me invite you with caution into the world of the 7 Dials. This being Agatha Christie, murder will be happening multiple times. But who did it and why? And can those in charge be relied upon to find out the truth before it happens again? A dead body is found at a masked ball in a stately home overlooked by 7 clocks on the mantelpiece. One young woman, Bundle Brent, played by Mia McKenna-Bruce, decides to look into it. Are her mother, Lady Caterham, Helena Bonham, and a man called Superintendent Battle, played by Martin Freeman, are they going to be a help or a hindrance? We're going to find out, but not today, because we're avoiding spoilers. First, we're going to be hearing from writer Chris Chibnall and director Chris Sweeney, and then welcoming cast members Mia McKenna-Bruce, Helena Bonham and Martin Freeman to the stage. Let's go right into it. Welcome, Chris and Chris.
Hi. That's
Hi.
easy, right?
What an intro.
Agatha Christie has achieved international national treasure status, widely read, widely adapted, and widely loved. What is it about her works that you think make her so timeless and so able to speak across different times, different cultures, different languages?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it has travelled and remained. And I think there's something of the puzzle that is timeless. I think she's setting up a puzzle for people and they don't age. And I think that's partly why. And I also think because she built trust with her audience, that she always played a straight bat, right? And therefore people knew what they were going to get from a mystery from her. That's the kind of two things I connect with.
Yeah, that's good. I think she's a cocktail, isn't she, as well, of lots of different things. Amazing plotter and storyteller, amazing writer of characters, social diarist. You know, she writes so much about the span of the 20th century in particular quarters. And she's vastly entertaining as well. She's a page turner. And it's when you put all those into a cocktail, it's not just one thing. She's just so many things, and I think what you were saying there, Chris, she's so conscious of her audience, and her audience love her back still.
I wanted to pick you up on something you said. She played with a straight bat. What do you mean?
If the clues were there, and if you chose to see them, you could work it out. And I think there was never any subterfuge or tricking people on the whole.
Which is something we've worked very hard at.
To be
the
faithful to.
Yeah. 7 Dials is a short story. It was written in 1929, but as we see it, it's set here in 1925. What was Agatha Christie's life and time like, and how much of her is there in this relatively early work? If we go to you first, Chris Sweeney.
I mean, we've just been looking at pictures of Christie on a surfboard, and she was a free spirit, and I think Bundle is that in this story. Someone who can't be contained. She was sort of like a cannonball of a person, and I get a lot of that from Christie. That's certainly something I connected with in the book and in the scripts that Chris brought out. And you could probably speak better about what exactly was going on with Christie at that time.
Well, I mean, she's just been through a very torrid time in terms of her personal life, and then she's coming out the other side of that. But I think there's some very interesting things going on. I mean, I'm not sure exactly when the book is written. The other thing, we've had such an amazing backstage preview just now, haven't we? Including like the contract for 7 Dials, contract for the book, 6 shillings. Can I just say? We're all going to be calling our agents later. But the contract is 1924, which I thought was really interesting, given it's published in 29, I think. But around about 28, 29, obviously she's coming out of the terrible disappearance of her husband's affair, all of that, becoming an independent woman again, travelling. But around 28, 29, isn't that the first time she goes on the Orient Express as a solo traveller? I think you can see in Bundle that sense of a woman out there fighting for herself, real energy, real drive, real sense of curiosity about the world. But it's a fascinating time.
We have to point out the items we just saw, which will be on display from the end of October onwards. It proves that a writer's life never really changes, because she complains about the proofreaders.
Yeah.
She sends a sucking up letter to P.G. Wodehouse, which goes, "I love you," and then he writes like, "I love you too, you're so funny and amazing and brilliant." And she talks about contract terms, which is evidently a perennial sort of hazard for a professional writer.
Yeah, there was a contract, and there was the play of Chimneys from 1931, which was held by the Lord Chamberlain's office and never performed, we were just told. And so, yes, we've been sort of dazzled by these objects backstage. So, yeah, when the exhibition later this year is going to be phenomenal. We've only seen half a dozen objects there.
Yeah, tiny parts of it.
How involved were you with the Agatha Christie estate? And sorry to use a very 21st century terminology, but did they give you any green lines or red flags or yellow lanterns or whatever it is we're supposed to be looking out for?
Well, they're sitting right there. So.
It's James and Julia, and they're right there.
No, it was wonderful. No, I don't think
they were
lovely.
Any,
I don't think there were any. I certainly wasn't told any red lines or green flags or
indeed any anachronisms to avoid.
Well, I would say, and I'm not just saying it because they're in the room, but genuinely, I think they are the gold standard of what an estate should be, because you look at how alive Agatha Christie is in the culture, and that is the tending of an estate. And the conversations we had from the start were all about making sure that this piece reflects something that James talked about from the start, of how entertaining she is as a writer, and we talked about this piece as a treat. Really important to be that, and a lot of our conversations were about things we would like to try. There's one big thing we've done, which is we've Bundle's parent in the book, as I'm sure a lot of people here will know, is Lord Caterham, her dad, and we've changed that to Lady Caterham, her mother, and obviously we had conversations about that. They were fantastically supportive, and I think you'll see the dividends that pays in, first of all, Helena Bonham Carter and Mia McKenna-Bruce together on screen. No, it was always a kind of incredible conversation. So there weren't, I don't think, red lines or green flags, but it's a discussion. They're partners,
But James and I were just having a conversation backstage that you can shake your head if I can't say this, but that Christie liked when things changed format. She liked that people took it as it should be in the next format, so from a book to a play, or even when she was alive. So, we didn't have that conversation beforehand, but phew.
But I love that you say that about Agatha Christie, because it tells me how modern-minded she was, that she understood that in order to get your stories out there, having them as a play or even on the radio or in the Netflix era, you'd have it on a screen, is a good thing, and that you can work with people to see what they create.
Chris writes books as well as TV shows. They're different mediums, right? And they do different things, and that's fascinating.
I want to stick with you for a moment, because part of the pleasure for audiences of watching Agatha Christie is, as we've tried to illustrate the detail and the immersion into a completely enveloping world that is at once safe and pleasurable, but also rife with danger and human nature and all of its often fatal effects. In particular, the locations. I wonder if you could say a little bit about the locations in this.
Well, so the main Chimneys is Badminton House, and we fell in love with it when we saw it because it feels lived in.
Yeah.
Many of those big stately homes have been renovated or turned into venues and things. This is lived in by a family, and it has soul and romance, and but it also has in the middle this very kind of geometric dark staircase that speaks to, you know, the murder side of this story. And it's kind of the story, this beautiful family home becomes a funhouse mirror of what Bundle's life was. You know, someone's been murdered in her home. So it was perfect for that as soon as we walked through the door.
But every murder mystery needs a shot of a foreboding staircase, even if it's
We've got plenty.
Except, thank you very much. I wanted to come back to something I mentioned in the intro, which was about the way Seven Dials tells us so much about social and political change. It's happening in that interwar period where, unfortunately, because of a shattering war, everyone's preconceptions have been dropped, so that there's a massive loss of faith in religion and God, but there's also an opening up of questioning about how we can all live now. Chris Chibnall, could you say a little bit about what you wanted to tease out here, even if it was in a subtle way?
Well, I think it was one of the big decisions, again, we took early on. And we located it, the book's written in 29, the show we've landed in very specifically in September 1925. For a lot of the reasons you're talking about there in terms of the shadow of war, in terms of these people have lived through a pandemic. Now, they're not there particularly in dialogue, but they are there, they inform the characters, because in a way, when we were talking about it, when I was thinking about it at the beginning, I was thinking, what context is this novel written in? I really wanted to make sure it was set in a very specific place and time, because that's what she was writing about. And so the sense of the men who've been lost in the war, the sense of the new generation coming through, those things were all really important, and their texture as much as anything. But hopefully it just grounds everything, and I hope the feels what we've talked about a lot is how can it be fizzy and funny and energetic and lively, but also true and grounded and feel like psychologically and emotionally real, and that you care for these characters as well.
Chris, would you say a bit more about that? Because I'm very aware that on the one hand, it's a period drama, and yet at the same time, it's a timeless comment on what people's motivations are. And it's in a very 21st century medium. How do you collapse those things together and make them work?
Well, I think for me, it all starts with Bundle. You know, she's someone who is doing things that women of her age in that age couldn't do. She's going into Scotland Yard and asking questions, and you know, and there's lots of humour in that, and that's subversive, but it also speaks to a period of change, unsettling times. And there's the Coots who are renting this house because they can't afford to have it anymore. And all these things are shifting. The old world order of aristocracy, and you know, you kind of mentioned it in the intro, of aristocracy not necessarily running everything in the way that they had. I just sort of latch onto those things that are in the book, in the script, and find the interesting way to portray it, I suppose.
A word that came up just when I was reading the introductory matter for this is the notion of something being elevated, that you have to grab and to keep people's attention while still being authentic and true to Agatha Christie. How did you do that?
I think it's about finding moments that are exciting and propulsive, and also not overthinking it and keeping it really simple and being true to the story, you know, and not bolting on things that aren't there. Everything we've talked about is sort of in the book, and then we've expanded it. Hopefully, that's what we've tried to do, you know, and I think that kind of keeps things simple, but also fresh and original, hopefully.
I love what you say about the timelessness and simplicity of storytelling itself. There's no need to gild the lily. Humans have been telling stories since the beginning of time.
They've loved mysteries forever. And, you know, like someone told me that people watch mysteries with a pen and paper to like write down clues and things. And I don't know if anyone here does that, but it is that you are active in a mystery in a way that you aren't in other kinds of stories.
Well, it's water cooler chat from even before the time of water coolers. Who
trade-
did it?
Yeah,
It's round the watering hole chat from the murder mystery around the
around the well.
cave settlements.
Who's holding the club?
Who's exactly? Who killed my buffalo? Was it you? Was it the vicar? Okay. Chris Chibnall, you had the task. We were talking about books to screens, and you, in fact, had the task of taking a literary prose work by an enormously favoured and beloved author, whom I imagine real diehard fans of are quite possessive of. What did you bear in mind when you were doing the adaptation? Did you have to get rid of all of that, or did you indeed think, look, these are a core audience?
Well, you're approaching it. I mean, I'm a reader and I'm a fan of Agatha Christie. So you're thinking about what do you love? I approached it from what do I love about this book, and that was a long list. And we talked about those things. The whole team of us, didn't we, at the beginning? Going, what's the essence of this book? I think what Chris said about there's the sort of centre of this show, which is the book, and then we built things out as well. But the core essence, if you read the book, is the same as the core essence of the show. So for me, it's funny, which I think she doesn't get as much credit for being a very, very funny writer as she should. It's a thriller rather than a whodunit, and that's really important. And the character of Bundle has gone unremarked for a century, and really that's the thing for me that I was like, if we can bring all of those things together, then I think we've got something really exciting. But mainly, I loved the book, and so I thought, it'd be great if this gets a bigger audience. It'd be great if we can also make it feel like a modern cinematic thriller, but very, very true to the period, to Agatha Christie's writing. So it's that, really. You're hoping that your love for it transmits through the show.
In just one moment, we're going to be inviting three of the main cast members on stage to discuss all of this. I just wanted to give last words to you, other Chris. I wondered if there are three Chris's in total on the team. We just have 2 out of 3 with us on stage. Are there any Christie cliches that you actually love? We've been talking from a position which I think is really positive of joy and celebration. And part of the pleasure of returning to Christie's world is seeing all of those things that we've expected and cherished as readers.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to look at it all with love and then work out which bits work for the thing you're doing. As she did many different genres, different things were different right for different times. I suppose there's the sort of exciting prospect of a closed space like a country house and a party, and who was there, and the person who did it must be there, and scanning rooms and watching people hear things and looking at each other in exchange of looks. Like, that is great fun no matter what, and I think those are the things I really enjoyed doing. And I said to Chris before, I feel like I've done a sort of 2-year MA in Agatha Christie. It's been amazing, just sort of deep diving and learning and listening to. There's so much material about her and around her. All those kind of things, just paying respect to them and then working out which bits were relevant for us, I suppose.
We're going to come full circle and just celebrate you and say congratulations and thank you, and tell viewers to watch out for the masked ball, because that's a very Agatha Christie image. Whoever you suspect is the one is not the one.
Yeah.
Whoever you suspect is the one to solve the crime is not necessarily the one to solve the crime. So watch this space. Just as we begin to welcome our cast on, I'm going to quote writer Chris Chibnall here. "We needed someone who is going to knock your socks off. And Mia McKenna-Bruce has just become that character and delivered a vision you just fall in love with. To have Helena Bonham Carter play Lady Caterham is just an absolute joy and a thrill. And the same with Martin Freeman as Battle, who's an iconic part of the Christie canon. Perfect timing then to welcome on Mia, Helena and Martin. Please join us. Thank you.
Thank God I was nice about them.
I know.
We couldn't hear you anyway.
Okay, good.
Your quote could have been, well, we had our first choices. So, congratulations, welcome, and thank you for being here. We wish we could have laid you on the sort of... We wish you could have been laid out on the very Agatha Christie-like chaise longue that's behind us, but in fact, you were signing copies. We dressed the set, yes. We had you signing copies of Seven Dials. Thank you very much for that. No pressure from that quote from Chris at all about how you were going to perform in a really premium, blow your socks off kind of way. Let me just begin by asking you as actors, listening to a director, how do you interpret that note? Mia, let's begin with you.
Interpret the note of blow your socks off.
Yes.
I don't think you ever gave that note, did you?
That's term one at drama school.
Yeah. How would one interpret that note? I don't know, I'd probably run away.
You have just been in the boardroom being shown an array of Agatha Christie's items. I don't know why we're calling them items, as if they're sort of unspeakable. They're her letters and her photographs. My opening serious question for all of you is, who is Agatha Christie to you?
The Queen of Crime.
She's one of those people that I, have been always aware of. And so I was saying, God, I'm just such a fan of Agatha Christie. I've always loved her, but then I realised I actually haven't read one book until this one.
Yes,
but I did until this one. But actually, I read enough to realise that I wasn't even in this one.
Threw it across the room.
So, yeah, but she's extraordinary because she's part of it. She's just always been there.
Yeah,
it's part of her. She's just been part of the backdrop of our cultural heritage, and I think I guess I've seen her on film. And then I remember like my brothers being taken to the mousetrap and I wasn't allowed, and seeing all the different iterations of Poirot and Marple, but not like with huge amount of concentration on my. But then when I got this script, it was really beautifully written. I'm not just sucking up, but it. And then I realised with a cursory look at that one that you'd out Christied her because everyone might go like, oh, we could just read this and then we'll know what happens on Thursday or Friday whenever this comes out. But it's different. Or am I allowed? Was that spoiled?
Ruined the whole thing.
If we sense prickles of warning, I'll just
tell them shut up. Yeah. Bye. But yeah, what about
Martin,
you?
let's bring you in here.
Similarly to you, she's just always been part of the backdrop of, the fabric of our culture, really. I've just always been aware of it. And similarly to you, it's not like I was a big reader of hers. I got my Christie through television and film as well, or radio, or I like an audio book as well. So I was never a voracious reader of hers at all. I mean, people I knew who read her when I was growing up swore by it, and they said she's brilliant. And she obviously is. But I would agree with Helena. I think what Chris has done with her work is fab, actually. It's really, really fab. Because it's rightly, we're here to talk about this, and obviously Agatha Christie is the OG. She's
What's OG?
Original gangster.
The huge gaps.
What is wrong with these people? That really annoys me. No, obviously,
that was actually the title of her first novella.
But no, so she should obviously get all the credit. But I think what Chris has done with it is quite beautiful.
It's ingenious.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's because I think obviously between Agatha, brilliant writer, and Chris, brilliant writer. What I read was a script that spoke to me as a person in 2024, as it was then, I guess. It was genuinely funny. Like there were actual funny bits that weren't polite period funny.
You made funny.
Pretending to find it funny. It was actually, it read very, very well for now, not having, I don't think it sacrificed the period. Because I think a lot of the time, if you want, talk about how do we make this true to now, how do we make this relevant to now, a lot of the time what you sacrifice is what made it good 100 years ago or 80 years ago, so you throw the baby out with the bathwater. But I think Chris has kept it. Don't ever look at me like that. But I think Chris is...
She looks at her.
She's always looking at me like that. I've given up the baby out with the bathwater.
You ruin everything. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Martin,
OG.
you're talking
Talks in code.
Yeah, you do like riddles.
You're
I
mentioning
understand what
these
he's saying.
ancient idioms
Carry
and
on.
really historic phrases like OG and a baby out of the bathwater, which nobody has
Anyway,
heard of.
you did a really good job.
I want to bring Mia in here because you said relatively less compared to the others.
I'm just listening.
That's not normal. She talks non-stop.
Yeah, normally I'm quite blown away actually by how much you've got to say.
But actually, Martin's answer gave me a great in, which was about the kind of revolutionary aspects of this, and your character is very much that. Could you say a little bit about that? Because we were speaking about how this is occurring in the interwar years, so everything's up for grabs, behaviour, norms, expectations, and I think your character really typifies that.
Yeah, 100%. What I really loved about Bundle when I first read it was like, she's someone that obviously won't take no for an answer, but not in a way of wanting to kind of trample on other people in order to get there. She's very much like, come with me while I do this. Her like love for other people, her connection that she has. I think we see like from the get-go in that initial party, each character that she interacts with, she's got a really gorgeous connection with, and I love that about her, and she deeply cares about the people in her life, and that's kind of what drives her through, and yeah, makes her not allow herself to be pigeonholed, particularly in that time.
You mentioned right at the top that you see Agatha Christie as the queen of crime, and I love everyone's very honest answers because I think they're truthful to most people, that Agatha Christie has always been in the water, and we feel that we know the archetypes, we know the plot, and yet if you were asked to name, say, 7 of her works that you'd read, which we're not about.
We love a quiz.
You like a quiz. I was going to say you're going to like a quiz.
I think we could do that.
But do you know them from the books or from adaptations?
I just know them from being in the world.
From being born?
Yeah, from living.
Just know them from life.
But that's it, isn't it? That's the amazing thing. Like, without having read a lot of her works, personally, like, I always found it a bit scary. Like, I thought I wouldn't understand a lot of it. And then reading Seven Dials, I was like, oh, no, like, this makes sense to me. And then, yeah, I realised that I actually know so much of her stuff without having actually...
Did she use sort
Go
of
on.
phrases like throw the baby out with the bathwater?
No, that's just you.
But she did not use OG.
No, she didn't.
No. No.
I was going to ask why you weren't allowed to see the mousetrap.
Oh, yeah.
Would you trust her not to give the game away? Christ. Would you trust that? Don't tell everyone you know. Yeah.
I was going to say, for all those who haven't seen it, is that because of the huge massacre in the middle, but just to throw people off the scent, but there isn't one.
I think that's just a girl.
Oh.
No, I'm really kidding. I have no idea why they didn't take me. But I think I was probably a bit young. They're much older than me.
Well, you're in Agatha Christie now as a gender-swapped casting decision.
Yeah.
Quick question, why? Is it because you had Helena in mind for being part of the project? And then
It was. I mean, we actually had
Was
that
it?
conversation, didn't it? Yeah. It was,
Really?
Yes.
How
It
did
said
that come out?
we were. Hi.
Oh, it would be nice to know how one floats into someone's head. Because I'd like to float into other people's heads.
Yeah, it came about when we were talking about the character, and also we literally had the conversation where I think we said, "Well, imagine if it was someone like Helena Bonham Carter. It would be amazing."
Really?
And yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then?
So thanks for saying this. Yeah, and it got shaped around that as an idea, and also then when you think about gender swapping, then.
Yeah.
The thing that plays, and obviously you guys know, you'll see on screen, the dynamic between Bundle and her mum is so rich, and it just brings something. That's where you get some of the freshness as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
we are going
But
to talk
dramatically,
about...
there's no doubt that it's more interesting at being a woman.
I completely
Totally.
agree. And in fact, in just a moment, we're going to talk about the different dynamics between your characters. Helena, I just wanted to ask, this story is set in the Roaring '20s, and I don't want to say that your character is stuck in 1915,
She is
but
stuck.
she's emotionally fixed on 1915 when her son died, and it's almost Miss Havisham-esque, which is the iconic Dickens character you played in Mike Newell's 2012 adaptation. But I don't think it's quite as pathological as that. I think it's very understandable if she's stuck there by trauma. But if you could say a little bit about her. Or indeed a lot, that would also be.
Maybe I won't. Even get to a little.
Maybe
But no, it's funny that when you're doing it, you're so obsessed with it. I could have talked for hours, and now it's out in the world.
Well, we talked about Vita Sackville West, didn't we?
We did.
And that was kind of
That was
transgressive. She was transgressive, and I think in a way that feels modern.
We did, and I think I mean, I love Cater. I called her Cater Mum.
Yeah, Kate Mom.
Cater Mum, Lady Caterham. She's an extraordinary character and somebody who is probably more aware. I think this is what Chris said, of who isn't there rather than who is, and half of it is, we got the Roaring '20s, known superficially for all the fun, but for many and most people, they were in a deep state of grief and a state of loss because of all the young men that they'd lost. And so Caterham is barely there, barely in the present. She's still mourning the absent son and the absent husband. And so a lot of, and stuck at it, like the clock stopped, a bit like, in 1915 when she lost her son. So, that was a lot of what my character was and we have the huge energy of, that was what was fun, is that there was Bundle, who's central, and you were taking it, she was the forward. You said that, Chris, she was all about going forward and I was going back, so you had these two opposite energies. And she was all about action and doing, and I was retreating. And I really Caterham can't bear people anymore. And she suffered too much loss. She's very, very damaged. But the one thing she can rely on is her ever-blossoming geraniums.
Just when I thought you were going to say daughter.
It's all about the
No, but she's always risking her life by getting in the car, she's a great character. I could have carried on playing her for some time. But anyway.
Note to Netflix executives, without making eye contact, that would be a great idea. Look forward to a recurring series on that one. I love what you say about the idea of the old guard and the new guard and the retreating guard, and the way that the seeming hedonism and glamour of the 1920s actually concealed a huge amount of what was then called shell shock. So it wasn't like now where you talk about it all the time. Instead, you say nothing about trauma and pain and loss and all the rest of it. We're going to circle back in a moment, but I just wanted to point out how your character's emotional state, Helena, and in fact all the characters' emotional states, are reflected in costume and makeup. So in the iconic party scene, we actually see that your dressing is a little bit out of phase with what's fashionable, whereas your daughter is absolutely currently right there on the needle. Could you say a little bit more about that? And also, just we could pay tribute to the costumiers who are also costumiers on The Crown, so we know the level that we're talking about. Mia, let's come to you, and then we'll go along.
Yeah, I think Bundle's opening dress when we first meet her, everyone was referring to it as like liquid gold. It was absolutely stunning, but it was also effortless. So it's kind of like, for us, it was like, that's kind of summed up Bundle. Like she could kind of make a statement without having to do much, and that's kind of what that dress did in the opening. And it's kind of, we see that, and then we see Bundle as Bundle is, and she's not as kind of flamboyant with her clothing as a lot of people were in the 1920s.
But I like what you say about effortlessness, because that for me is the big gender point. That the corsets and the tight stays are out, and you can still be beautiful, but you should be able to do things like breathe.
Yeah. That's nice.
It's nice. But also your hair says something to me about that sort of flapper, free woman image.
Yeah. A lot of women were cutting their hair at the time because it was a bit of a rebellion. And we went back and forth with a wig or my own hair. And I'm kind of up for anything. So I was like, yeah, just like cut my hair. And we did. And then, but we also had a wig, which came in
Useful.
handy. Useful. That's another story. And
Why did you use it for something you're not supposed to use a wig for?
we used it for my sister, who ended up being my body double because I broke my foot. But
It had its own plot twist.
the real drama was behind.
Yeah, it so often happens that whatever you're filming informs what happens in real life. And we kept on having these plot twists.
Yeah.
And I knew.
But nobody was actually killed.
No one was killed. As soon as I walked into badminton, I thought, that floor,
Yeah, you did keep saying
over-polished.
it.
I kept on saying,
Yeah.
the floor is over-polished.
There were a lot-
We might want to imagine that these are the plot points, and then imagine yourself walking amongst them, but
All the
without
plot points.
touching them.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. But both of us managed to...
But it is generally true that very shiny floors are dangerous and could lead to death.
Yeah.
Yeah, we both
It's a universe.
became.
I felt back, you know, like that, you know, when you say backstage, not backstage, but servants' quarters, great, lovely, you know,
Grippy floor.
grippy floor, grippy staircase up the front.
Yeah.
And
Broken
this one
bones.
went down, I went down. The staircase attacked us.
It did.
Yeah.
Well, we have mentioned the foreboding staircase. We can invite it on with us, but I think that we've
Well,
definitely.
Helena,
paid
you
tribute.
had a theory that back in the day, staff used to make the floor really shiny so that their bosses would. flip
Yeah,
up.
no, it's unconscious, not always pretty conscious murder. I'm quite right.
like that.
Yeah, it's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Over polishing. And then, you know what? I don't know if I told you to,
Go on.
but, or you two either.
Tell us
But
now
the
in
day
a public
after I
forum.
finished, I went to visit a good friend who lived in the neighbouring village, just next to Badminton Chimneys. She said not even the owners, what were they called?
Badminton people.
They don't use those stairs. They have
Really?
never used those stairs.
We're fools. We've been taken
We
for
were.
fools.
They look amazing.
They
It's-
look
we're
great.
clever.
The top shot looks great.
Yeah.
They're lethal. You cannot walk down them.
Yeah.
Well, they will now. Once they see
Yeah.
it, they'll be like, we better get down.
Yeah.
Martin
Oh,
Freeman.
and somebody else broke their wrist on them before.
They're going down on all fours.
On this show.
No,
No.
just before we started filming. They
we
tell you?
do
On the
just
stairs?
need to make
On the staircase.
We do just need to make a legal point that on behalf of Netflix and Orchid Pictures, all health and safety, the things that are being
No,
described
that's not
here.
right. No.
Anyway,
It's mostly just us being clumsy.
the things you're describing are outlier events. We're describing outlier events which are not covered by any contract. It could happen to anyone. Martin Freeman, I just want to bring you in here because you have.
Any injuries, Martin?
You didn't have to go up and down the stairs, though.
Maybe. Well, if this were actually an Agatha Christie drama, he's the one that would have done it all.
You
Yeah.
polished
You would
those
be
floors.
You know, you would have.
I got away scot-free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While I was just laughing at you and you're limping about.
This leads me to my exact question, which is that you're playing Superintendent Battle, who I very much want to call Detective Battle. That's not true.
Right, yes.
And you're up there amongst Christie's famous sleuths like Poirot and Miss Marple.
Yes.
I was wondering if you would have something to say about the idea of the unexpected characters. So the person who murdered is the one you least expect, but Christie really excels at crafting these gorgeous characters who fly under the radar, but are actually very effective. They're ruthless, they're incisive.
Yes.
Did you consider your fictional rivals when you were putting Battle together?
No, I didn't. I mean, he definitely wasn't someone I was familiar with, in the way that, you know, when we talk about Christie's effect on the culture and her presence in the culture, we all know Marple and we know Poirot. I personally didn't know Battle because, you know, and I know there will be people in this room who know Battle very well, but I was coming to it quite fresh. So when I was sent the scripts, I don't know how many I would have been sent at first, maybe, but am I allowed to say?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not massively in the first one.
Yeah.
You know, so there's not a great deal to do in the first one. But again, as you often are as an actor, you're always being told it gets bigger. It's like, you don't be put off by the first 5,000 pages.
All you. All you.
By episode 8, it really gets of season 3. So I was intrigued by the fact that he was very, very, I mean, literally back foot and just a kind of almost shadowy character that just sort of appears round corners and things at a distance. And I knew he was going to come into his own more. And so why are you laughing?
Because there were so many days on set where mine was just literally there, like he'd be there all day. He'd be there all day, just looking. And I'm like, why is he still here?
Why does it? We wrapped an hour ago.
Very method.
But then when he does sort of come into his own, it was fun. I think the first thing we shot, was a scene between us two.
Yeah, it was actually.
And it was sort of a 5-pager or something. It was really, really good fun because, she and Chris, Agatha and Chris, both play with the class thing of a much younger aristocratic woman and a sort of older guy who's just does his job extremely well but doesn't know how to pronounce certain things, and it's wry and it's sort of quietly funny, which I like. But you do see this, his authority is completely undermined the moment she sets foot in his office, because when she's not there, he's quite a big deal, like he's someone at Scotland Yard. And then there's someone who comes in who doesn't know the rules, doesn't care what the rules are, just needs to get done what she has to get done. And it's outside of what we're doing with it, and I think what we're doing with it is fine, but just as the scene set up, it's just a nice little frisson of I think these two are going to be friends, in spite of this bit of edge to it.
I love what you say about the breaking of rules, though, because on the one hand, Mia, your character is embodying entitlement, but at the same time, you would so not be welcome at Scotland Yard. People would be looking at you twice if you said, yes, but why is this happening? Why isn't this happening fast?
Yes.
Could you say a little bit more about your character's dynamics? And then I'd love to talk about Lady and Miss Caterham in a second.
I think well, for reasons that we come on to later on, I have an eye on Bundle. At first, I think it's fair to say she is. Well, there's what the audience know, and then there's what we find out later on. But on the face of it, she's an annoyance to him. He's a tried and tested copper. He knows exactly what he's doing. This girl comes in, and she's messing stuff up, right? She's like, please get out of my way. And I don't mean you, I mean the character.
I do take it personally.
Yeah,
I do take it
I do want to stop doing that.
But then as it goes on, he observes that she's really smart and she has incisive questions and things to say that are germane to his investigation. And so she starts to challenge him in a way. He is then giving her more license to check stuff out. And so you see them gradually weaving their way around each other until I think what is a very good denouement, which I was pleasantly surprised by.
Mia, would you feed into that a little bit? I love that notion of sort of testing someone and gaining their trust, but also gaining gravitas and authority yourself.
Yeah, but I think she knows what she's doing from the get-go. You just don't pick up on it.
No, exactly. No, that was
You're not smart.
No, I know. As far as battle is concerned, you're a pain in the arse. But of course she does. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, I think their relationship that we see develop is really, it's quite glorious, and we had a lot of fun. And yeah, she does get under Battle's skin, I believe, on the surface. But I think he sees that there's a lot more to her, and I think, yeah, there's this really gorgeous kind of double act that presents itself.
I want to follow up with a question that's actually about Agatha Christie, because we don't see Bundle recurring a lot later on in Agatha Christie's work. And yet at the same time, in terms of her ambition and her energy, there's lots of Christie in Bundle. Did you feel a responsibility to the author to somehow embody that? Because you are, I mean, writers are not always writing autobiographically, but you are still carrying elements of her.
Yes. I didn't really know that until after we'd filmed it. that she was so kind of carried so much of Agatha Christie because it was one of her earliest books, and supposedly she put a lot of herself into Bundle. So I think it was just in your amazing writing that came through. Because I didn't really know.
Also, it's too much to weigh you down.
Yeah.
You need to play that character, don't you?
Yeah.
Rather than going, oh, and by the way,
I'm
if you want some more pressure.
Yeah, you're actually
Yeah.
carrying Agatha Christie. Yeah.
Helena Bonham Carter, we come to one of the central sort of intriguing, humorous, agonising, charismatic relationships, the dynamics within this drama. Sometimes it seems as if you're the mother and you have all the experience and all the weight of suffering and life and privilege, but at the same time you have this daughter who also takes care of you and pushes you and brings you into the present day. How did you work out that dynamic between you?
I think it was pretty clearly written. And we had a very useful rehearsal, actually.
Did,
It was
yeah.
with both of you guys, the Chris.
Chris.
And I think because I retreat, Bundle is very much like often the mum. But it's very much a case of this house being just a huge house and no one's in it except the two of us and the dog. And this sort of, we only have each other. I have a daughter and I have a mother, but both relationships are very complicated. Sometimes you do switch from mother, you switch roles and swap and be the mother to your daughter, you know what I mean, daughter to mother, So yeah, but I remember just what you said before though, in absence of Lady Caterham being in the novel, I got obsessed with Agatha, the real Agatha, and Lucy Worsley's biography, and there's a great documentary about her too, and I got really, I just thought, well, I'm going to be like Agatha, I'm going to like do my own digging, and I was convinced that he basically got my character from Agatha in a way, or Agatha's mum, and that Agatha herself was so informed by her dad's death. She had a great childhood up to about 9, and then Dad died suddenly, and then the mum disappeared down a hole of grief. I thought, oh, that's where Lady Caterham's come from, and that so much of her life just hinged on this huge event, and that's where she got in touch with the dark and saw this other side of her mum, which was really not, she wasn't well when she in her grief. So I felt that was so it wasn't just Bundle. I felt like posthumously in his creation of Lady Caterham that she drew a lot on the real Agatha and her mother. Yeah.
I think you've touched upon something that's really making me think. It's just occurred to me thinking about all of Agatha Christie's stories that these all do occur between groups of friends and family. It's relatively rare for it to be about some crazed maniac serial killer who's come to the village. It's actually it's rooted in
it often
relationships.
And it happens within the house.
Yes.
I think that's what's so, and everyone can relate to it. And it's more dangerous that the actual enemy is within the home. And our own destructiveness. And it, Victorians made it seem like the home was everything and lovely and safe and Dickensian and cosy. It's just always like our view of Christmas. Oh, did you have a happy Christmas? We all know that Christmas is really hard to survive. It is. It's hard.
Everyone in the room.
There's a full line, everything, and all these, so much pressure on all the intense cross relationships of a family brought together, and that's what I kind of like, that a lot of the time with Agatha, anyway, she's publicly perceived as Miss Marple, and you go, oh, let's sit down to a nice, cosy, Sunday nostalgic. Underneath it, she is laser beam about all the sides that we don't really want to own up to, and our real instinct to want to murder a few members of our family.
How was your Christmas?
I haven't, no murders, but it's always good to air it. Once you've aired the feelings, then they disappear.
I think your interpretation is exactly right, and that's why we keep coming back to Christie, that this is what happens behind the stiff upper lip and behind the everything's fine, darling.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, you just end up like a murdered vicar, clubbed down by a brass candlestick by your illegitimate son who whatever. That's not the plot.
We haven't added that.
It's not.
Tell us more. We have got the psychoanalyst out.
Let's come up with this. Let's come up with this. We have just 2 minutes left, and I have a choice between asking you for just very serious final takes on what you would like people to come up with, or could you tell me some fun stuff that your etiquette coach taught you?
Did we have an etiquette tape?
Yeah, Major David.
Oh, same one as the Crown.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was just like,
Your etiquette's too
it's
good
obviously
anyway.
mulged into
Your
one big
etiquette's obviously great because you didn't have that much interaction with him, but what about the other?
Well, I didn't get to meet anyone, so I'm always on my own with this one and the dog, who I'll just say,
Callie.
best dog in the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah,
is.
seriously.
I mean, she was extraordinary, no matter what.
Her
She
etiquette.
was her etiquette.
Professional etiquette,
But, you know,
very
everything was
professional.
going wrong, of which many things do go wrong.
Yeah.
But I remember there was one thing, and I can't remember what happened. We were all shooting, and it was this end of day when your foot had gone.
Yeah.
And even the dog of the house was barking because something went wrong.
Yeah.
You looked at Callie. Callie was still there.
Still in her position. Ready to go.
Extraordinary. If you did a following shot, Callie was always in there.
Yeah.
Casting
best.
agents in the audience, take note.
Yeah.
Ali,
the dog.
She was an extraordinary
top
dog.
professional.
Yeah, anyway, what was the question?
Any last notes about the etiquette?
He tried to teach me how to make a cup of tea.
Did he?
And what happened?
Remember?
Yeah.
And that didn't make it
vaguely.
into the show.
I think I was like, let's move on.
Yeah.
You
So
told me-
slow.
You told me a funny story about etiquette that was that when you played Princess Margaret and when you were playing Lady Caterham,
Yeah.
that you would often get notes about stuff, and then the brackets on the end would be, but because you are who you are, you wouldn't do any of it. You would never
Margaret.
play anything.
No, Margaret, he excused me from everything. He said Princess Margaret was in a different
Yeah.
world of her own.
Yeah. So
And I just thought the same with Cater Mum.
yeah.
Don't you think?
So he'd often open his mouth, and then you'd be
They're
travelling.
just like, bye.
I think you would do. Oh, she's gone. It's fine.
No, it's okay. She's another Margaret again. She's always playing Princess Margaret. Gets away with murder.
Oh. I'll let the lawyers fly on that one. On that. Now you're going to have to all watch it and renew your subscriptions to see if that was a joke or if Lady Caterham does indeed get away with murder. This brings us to a not very genteel close, but a top cliffhanger, an exceptional Netflix-style cliffhanger instead. You'd be like next episoding it if you were actually watching this and it was playing out in front of you. But we are here to have celebrated the Netflix adaptation and Orchid Pictures production of Agatha Christie's story, Seven Dials, with cast members Helena Bonham Carter, Mia McKenna-Bruce and Martin Freeman, as well as director Chris Sweeney and writer Chris Chibnall. If you would kindly stay in your seats while our speakers leave the stage, we'd be very grateful just for crowd control. But once we're all
They're going to be... You can tell they're all going to be
like a rock concert in here.
Oh, should we just chuck them some food?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because
Smacks.
our event partner, Netflix, are very kindly offering you a glass of something refreshing and non-fatal at the bar. It's not poisoned, it's just a drink. We thank them, and we thank the Agatha Christie estate for continuing to give us so much pleasure and joy and enjoyment over the centuries. Our colleagues and our staff at the British Library, and above all you, the audience, for loving brilliant stories, well told, whatever form they're in. So thanks to you, and thank you to our amazing. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.